Well, good morning. Happy Monday. I am so close to my last day of working as a civil servant for the Department of Defense. I can't wait. I'm very excited about my fresh start in life. And like I said before, President Trump's super sweet offer of paying me until December 31st is very generous. It's historically generous offer, but of course, they won't broadcast that in the news. They're going to try to villainize him. I was just telling someone the other day that no matter what President Trump does, they're going to try to villainize him. He could stuff $10,000 cash in every American citizen's pocket, and believe me when I say there will be people that will complain that he stretched their pants when he put the money in their pockets. There would be people doing that. They would complain that he stretched their pants and he needs to pay for their damaged pants. When he stuffed the $10,000 in there, he stretched their pants. There will be people doing that, really. But anyway, back to the subject matter. Now, before President Trump personally offered it, it came via OPM, the Deferred Resignation Program, where if you resigned, you got paid until September 30th, the end of the fiscal year. And then if you retired, like I did, voluntarily retired, you get paid until December 31st of this year. Well, now the DOD, they're still trying to cut back. So I'll put a link to this article down below. But as you can see here, if you go, and if the link doesn't work for you, it's on the defense.gov website. And basically, what it is the Department of Defense is again offering the deferred resignation program on their own. So what this means is that you still have an opportunity to voluntarily retire, get paid, and have time to start a new life, or you can resign and you get paid and start a new life. And so if you're in a position and you think that you might be a target, you might really want to consider it this time because I'm telling you, after this second offer, this second chance to do this, I think when the reduction in force time comes, nobody's going to pity you because they're like, hey, we gave you two chances to take a sweet offer and go home. You didn't take it, so now you're going to go home with nothing. I think it's going to be quite painful for a few people. So once you read this article, there's something particularly interesting that I wanted to, a couple of things. One thing here is they're going to start using more AI for different positions, like in logistics and supply. They're going to automate quite a few things. That's what DOGE is doing now with the Department of Defense. They're implementing a lot of AI, which is a good thing because it keeps us competitive with the rest of the world. It's a big, huge plus in my personal opinion. But the negative is, of course, people are going to lose their jobs or they'll be moved to other jobs. But this is coming, and for America's sake, this is a necessity because our enemies out there are going to start using AI as well. Because you got to remember, it's very competitive. Two, very cost effective. You can start using AI and with very few resources, and it can be a powerful tool. You can see that on YouTube all the time. You see people putting that AI videos, and it takes you a minute or two to realize this AI created video. So AI is coming, and it's good that our Department of Defense is starting to implement it, so America can stay ahead of the game. But like I said, the only negative side is less human interaction, like with logistics. I personally know for a fact there's a large civilian presence uh, dealing with logistics portion of Department of Defense. So this might hit particularly hard for them, which uh, is the sad part of it. Let's see. And that's right here where it says the memo states the DOD seeks to reduce duplicate efforts and reject excessive bureaucracy through an honest analysis of the workforce. That's what DOGE is doing with, that's another thing DOGE is doing with AI. They're going through everything in an automated fashion using AI to see who's needed and who's not, who's redundant. Do we have two people doing the same thing, three or four people doing the same thing? Can we narrow it down to one? That's what AI is doing. And as you well know, like I do, with computers, there's no emotion involved. It's strictly business. So when they make a decision, that's it. It's not, they care if this person has a family or this person's been here 20 or 30 years or this person's this age or whatever. It doesn't care. It's just strictly business. Nope. You got four of these people doing the same thing. You only need one. This is the best qualified person. Get rid of the rest. That's basically what computers and automation does. Additionally, it states automation through technological solutions will be sought out, particularly at the headquarters level. So it's coming. Let's see. There was one part in here that really interested me because I saw this. I saw this personally. What it was is, let's see. Um, let's see. Well, I can't find it now, but you'll see it in the article. And basically, what they were talking about is in the Department of Defense, if active military person can do it and we have a civilian doing it, why? Why not have the active person doing it instead of the civilian? We have a lot of that that's going on too. So um, they're really looking at that, and it kind of makes sense to me because, for example, if you have a person that's in the military and they're a cook, for example, why aren't they a cook? Why do you have civilians doing it? But I know the bigger picture is, see, and that's kind of like a catch 22, for lack of a better way of putting it, is where when the federal government comes into a town, their goal is to like, we do have a phrase in the government. It's called spread the wealth. We go to a town, we start buying products from the town, we hire people, local people from the town, and so on and so forth. So that's part of the reason why if you go to a lot of bases or a lot of federal installations, it doesn't have to be a military installation, be any federal installation. There's a lot of civilian from the local area that's there. And the reason is because that might be the only game in town. So, and that's the objective of the government as well, is to provide jobs where they can, like jobs where there aren't any. So it's like a catch 22. You want to be cost effective, but you don't want to hurt the American citizens at the same time. But I think we're at the point now where it's kind of ridiculous because um, once, if you go to certain places, you'll see where the military, they're supposed to do a job and they can't do it. They're sitting on their hands because they're not allowed to do it because you got a whole lot of civilians there doing that job. And they're not going to let anyone else go near that work, which doesn't make sense because the person's in the military, they signed up to do this job, but they can't do it because you got civilians doing it. And that's where it's kind of gotten out of hand. So I think that's where I think Secretary Hegseth, I think, so, yeah, Hegseth, I think Secretary Hegseth, that's what he's aiming for, is to cut down on stuff like that, where we can start having our military do the jobs they signed up for again, and start downsizing on the civilian side. You know, Another example is mechanics. Now we do have military mechanics and stuff like that they're doing, but we also have a lot of civilian mechanics doing this, what contract and government. Instructors. Before we used to have the military, they used to teach the military, but now they go to the schools, and it's a lot of civilians that are teaching the military. Very few military teaching military. It's starting to become few and far between, and that's where it's kind of getting out of hand. But then again, a lot of those civilians that are teaching the military were prior military. They're like a lot of military retirees that did that job before, and now they retired, either their government or contract, and now they're teaching the future military on how to do the job they did. So, and you don't want to see the veterans kind of lose their job too. I'm a veteran as well. You don't want to see them lose their jobs, but like I said, a lot of stuff is getting out of hand. But at the end of the day, this percentage that President Trump is aiming for is a very small percentage compared to our predecessors. Like, for example, President Clinton. I remember I was in the Marine Corps when President Clinton started doing the cutbacks. He did civilians and the military, and I saw a lot of my Marine brothers and sisters uh, get kicked out or grandfathered out, and they were good Marines. I'll never forget. I was at Camp Pendleton, and there was one Marine. He was super awesome. He was a Samoan, and I'll never forget. He was built. He was cut. He was maxed out on his everything. All his scores and stuff were maxed out. He maxed out in PT. He had his jump wings. He was squared away, but he was Samoan. So, and the reason I'm saying, I'm telling you he's Samoan, but the thing that got me is because he was Samoan, because of genetics, his body size was below the standards that had been set for the Marine Corps. So they had kicked him out. But like I said, he was in shape. He looked good. He was muscular. Everything was well proportioned, and he was one of the most square Marines I ever met in my life. And good Marine, good person all around. And I saw him at Pendleton at SEPS. He had got kicked out because he couldn't meet the weight standard. And it wasn't that he was fat, it's just how they had the weight standard set up was ridiculous. And he got kicked out for that reason. So everybody's picking on President Trump, but I well remember, and a lot of you remember too, if you was in the military during I call them the Clinton years. You saw people getting kicked out for absolutely ridiculous ridiculous reasons on the government side and the military side. So, and that in that portion, the number was much higher than it is now. The number of people that got fired from rift from government and kicked out of the military, much higher than that. And matter of fact, I don't even think President Trump is aiming to kick out any military at all this time. And see, in President Clinton, he kicked out military and civilian. But this time it's just civilian. It's not even military. So, like I said, I think President Trump does not get a fair shake with the press a lot of times. So anyway, I get off subject, but I just wanted to bring this up. If you are a civil servant out there, you want to read this article, and you want to sit down and consider what you're doing. If it's redundant, like I know personally, where there are 3 or 4 managers and supervisors doing the exact same thing, and what they're doing, you could hire a clerk to do, and for a quarter of the pay. You got one clerk to do what they're doing. And but if you was to tell those supervisors, hey, you should really consider moving on because you're going to be a target, they wouldn't listen. They won't listen. Human nature is we try to talk ourselves out of things and we don't want to accept stuff until it hits us in the face. And so I see that with a lot of my fellow civil servants. But my message to you is if you're a fellow civil servant, you really want to look at your job, what you're doing every day. You really want to look at that. And if you're in a good place to where you can take this deferred resignation program, do the retirement. If you have enough time to do the retirement and get paid until December 31st, I would really seriously consider it if I were you. Because like I said, For one, the general public, they always have a bad stereotype about us, which we don't deserve, but no matter what, we're never going to get rid of that stereotype. Just like no matter what President Trump does, people are going to, disapprove. But back to what I'm saying. And, two is when this, after this deferred resignation program, when they start doing a RIF, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. That's what I meant. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. They're going to cut you loose and you won't have anything. Whereas with this deferred resignation program, you at least have some income until until you retire, and you'll have your pension. Whereas with that RIF, you get nothing. You have to wait until whatever age before you even consider getting that pension. So read the article and really sit down and consider your future because this is serious business. And like I said, this is the second offer, the second chance, your second chance for a very super generous offer. If you're one of those that have very little to do, little to nothing to do, or if somebody else can do your job for a lot less, or if you're doing a job and you got four other people doing the exact same job, you really should consider taking this offer. Don't make yourself a target. Don't make yourself vulnerable because in the end, nobody's going to take pity on you. You had two shots. And that's pretty much it for now. I'll try to put this link down there. Click like and subscribe because I will be talking about general stuff. I'll be talking about my retirement, uh, my trips to the Philippines, to different parts of the world. Just be talking about life in general, trying to give certain advice. Um, Click like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. I'll get more experience with this thing with sharing because I have noticed on YouTube a lot of people just like people just being real and sharing. So that's what I'm doing, just being real and sharing with you. So the real deal is if you are a civil servant and you're not doing very much, you really should consider this because, you know, we're all human. And one of one of the thing about human nature is we like to deny things. So you might be sitting there denying that you're a target and justifying it in your head as to why you're not a target. But AI don't care. AI is looking at the books and they see XYZ and they're gonna do XYZ. They don't care what you think, how you feel, what's going on in your life, whatever. It doesn't care. And the thing about AI is it's fast. It does not take long. So you really might want to consider your second chance. So have a good day, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care.